Jimmy Kimmel opened his Tuesday night show by zeroing in on two things President Donald Trump is clearly not over: Greenland and the Nobel Peace Prize. At the very top of the monologue, Kimmel wasted no time mocking what he described as Trump's growing frustration over being snubbed for the prestigious global honor, and how that frustration may be fueling his renewed obsession with turning Greenland into a U.S. territory. Despite resistance from world leaders, European governments, and Greenland's own people, Trump, now 79, appears more determined than ever to push the idea forward. And Jimmy Kimmel? He had absolutely no sympathy. Kimmel joked that none of Trump's recent presidential actions, including his aggressive push toward Greenland, showed anything remotely deserving of a Nobel Peace Prize. He then delivered one of the night's biggest laughs, saying, quote, "Trump is so angry about getting snubbed for the Nobel Peace Prize, he may literally declare war against Scandinavia, the happiest people on earth." That line set the tone for what followed, a full-on teardown of Trump's reaction to the snub and the messages he sent in response. Kimmel turned his attention to what he described as a threatening message Trump sent to Norway's Prime Minister, Jonas Gahr Store, earlier this week. During the broadcast, Jimmy displayed a screenshot of the message on screen and read it aloud to the audience. He began with Trump's opening words, quote, "Dear Jonas, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America." The audience reacted audibly as Kimmel paused, letting the weight of the message sink in. Kimmel continued reading the text, highlighting Trump's justification for wanting Greenland. Trump wrote, quote, "Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China, and why do they have a right of ownership anyway? There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago. But we had boats landing there also." Jimmy visibly shook his head as the message escalated. The final portion of the text was then read aloud, quote, "I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you, President DJT." After finishing the message, Jimmy Kimmel didn't hold back. He said the text was filled with, quote, "so many embarrassing and deeply sad and insecure things," adding that he could spend the entire night dissecting it. He also pointed out what he found most alarming. Trump, in his words, admitted his plan in writing to a foreign leader. He joked that the idea of a sitting U.S. president texting another country's prime minister was already strange enough, but the tone made it worse. Jimmy then added another punchline, saying the thought of Trump angrily typing out a bitchy little message to the Prime Minister of Norway was, in his words, ridiculous. The segment then widened to explain what prompted the exchange. Trump's message came after Prime Minister Store reached out to him regarding a newly announced tariff plan. On January 17th, Trump declared he would impose a 10% tariff on goods imported from several European countries, including Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland, unless, Trump said, a deal was reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. Kimmel also highlighted the contrast between Trump's tone and the message originally sent by Norway's leader. Prime Minister Store's message, referencing Finland's President Alexander Stubb, called for de-escalation and cooperation. The message proposed a phone call and emphasized diplomacy, a sharp contrast to Trump's response. Kimmel wrapped the segment by circling back to his central point, that Trump's reaction to the Nobel Peace Prize snub and his Greenland fixation revealed insecurity rather than strength. And with that, Kimmel moved on, leaving the audience laughing and Trump once again at the center of global headlines.